Lamont Roach Jr. has some pretty interesting things to say about Gervonta Tank Davis leading up to their upcoming fight. He said that Tank Davis wasn't really punching until he became a professional and when the gloves were smaller. It's your boy, Mr. 926, a.k.a. Bushido the Dragon, a.k.a. the Black Mage, a.k.a. I could just do this all day, the two-time demonetized champion of the world.
I need y'all to get the likes up, man.
Check it out, man. Lamont Roach Jr. A lot of fans is giving him a lot of flack for him simply being the opponent that was chosen for Gervonta Tank Davis. And Lamont Roach is 25-1-1 with 10 knockouts. And Lamont Roach has some pretty interesting things to say about Gervonta Tank Davis. Check it out.
He was never a guy that was just knocking people out. If anything, if you seen me and him in the amateurs, people would consider me more of a
knockout puncher?
Of a puncher than him. It's just like when them gloves got smaller, he just started hitting
When
people.
niggas say when the gloves get smaller, you feel more to punch.
Oh yeah, for sure. He started hitting people on that button and they was going pew. He was never a guy that was just knocking people out. If anything, if you seen me and him in the amateurs, people would consider me more of a
knockout puncher?
Of a puncher than him. It's just like when them gloves got smaller, he just started hitting
When
people
niggas say when the gloves get smaller, you feel more to punch.
Oh yeah, for sure. He started hitting people on that button and they was going pew.
Now, hearing what Lamont, the Reaper Roach, had to say, he said that he was the one cracking in the amateurs and Tank wasn't cracking like that at all until he became a professional and when the gloves got smaller. Now, will something like this be a thing in the fight when it happens? I don't know. If it means anything, right? They have a common opponent in Hector Luis Garcia. And if you ask me, Lamont Roach actually handled Hector Garcia better than Tank did. But that doesn't mean that Lamont Roach should go up there and do the same thing to Gervonta Tank Davis, right? I think fans should give Lamont a chance, right? You know, he's the smaller guy, allegedly, quote unquote, coming up to see Tank, but he's actually bigger than Tank Davis.
We'll go to this fight with Tank. From my knowledge now, you moved up.
Yeah.
Is that a disadvantage or an advantage for you?
That's an advantage for me. I'm not a small guy at my weight class.
Okay.
And if you ever seen Tank, y'all know he's little. So I'm naturally bigger than him, and he's a weight class above me. So that's 5 less pounds I gotta cut. And you know, less strenuous on the weight cut, and then I get to retain more strength.
So going into a fight,
would that be a factor in the fight for Tank? Who knows, right? Tank Davis, he's familiar with Lamont Roach, right? He was familiar with Frank Martin, whether it was sparring or they squared off against each other in the amateurs. He's familiar with these guys. It's not something to where it's a foreign or it's uncertainty. No, he's kind of been in there with this guy before. So I'm not sure if this was by design from Team Gervonta Tank Davis or they just giving quote-unquote black fighter a shot because, you know, one of the narratives for Tank is that he didn't want to fight black fighters. And then he fought Frank the Ghost Martin in a fight where Frank Martin, when he pressed Tank Davis, right, when he came to Tank, he had a lot of success in the fight. But once he got on the back foot and once the round started to move forward, Tank Davis really didn't do much other than apply pressure, right? He applied a lot of pressure on Frank, and it just seemed like Frank just got timid. It seemed like he was just scared to punch. And it seemed like, for whatever reason, Gervonta Tank Davis, the momentum shifted in his favor, right? And that's when that experience came in, right? Tank Davis knows that, look, this guy, he gave me all he got, and now I got him scared, right? That's just what it looked like in the fight. And then Tank Davis, as we know, ended that fight in a very impressive fashion. Give Tank Davis a lot of credit for that fight. But now he's fighting Lamont Roach Jr. And he's receiving criticism for it. The way I look at it, you guys, Lamont Roach is a solid fighter. Is he gonna beat Tank? I don't know, right? What if Lamont Roach beats Gervonta Tank Davis though, right? What if he goes out there and puts up a performance of a lifetime and shocks Gervonta Tank Davis? I don't know. It could possibly happen. Lamont Roach seems to be on a mission to show everybody who he really is, right? He's a more experienced guy than Frank Martin, right? Frank Martin is a fighter who kind of started really late in the sport. However, Frank Martin was a very talented guy, so he was still able to do pretty big things in the sport of boxing, considering his lack of experience amongst his peers. But Lamont Roach has experience, and Lamont Roach has a great opportunity in front of him to beat Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis hasn't said anything on social media in regards to Lamont Roach, right? You know, he ain't really saying Lamont this, Lamont that. He ain't really saying too much of anything in regards to Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach saying this and that. And usually Tank Davis says something in response to the fighters. Maybe he'll wait a little bit later on once things get closer or once we get something solid, right? Because we're hearing this fight is going down in Houston and that it's still on after hearing reports that it wasn't going on. So whatever the case, it still seems like this fight is going down. I think it might be a good fight for what it's worth, right? You know, Tank Davis is closer to, well, actually, he's pretty much 30 now, and Lamont Roach is the same age. So these two guys are the same age. It's just that Lamont Roach isn't necessarily a popular fighter, right? But we all know that popularity only sometimes win fights, right? When it's a controversial decision or something like that, where popularity may get you the victory. However, that doesn't mean you're going to automatically win just because you're the more popular fighter. But it's Tank Davis. And we've seen Tank Davis actually lose fights. And then, you know, he just hit a guy one time and then it just changes everything. Then he wins the fight. So if Lamont Roach could stay focused throughout the whole fight, fight his game plan, and keep Tank on the... It's hard to say, right? I think Tank Davis doesn't fight as well coming forward as he does backwards. So if you chasing Tank around the ring, if you chasing him around, if he gives chase and you chasing him, Tank Davis will counter you and hit you with something, right? We've seen it many times before. But if you kind of press Tank and bang with him, things could get interesting. However, most guys can't withstand the power that Tank Davis is dishing out. Only one guy really survived Tank Davis like that, and that's Isaac Pitbull Cruz. So, yeah, I'm not sure how this fight is going to play out, you guys. I really don't know. But for whatever the reason, Lamont Roach seems to believe that Tank Davis only punching hard now because they're professionals and that he was punching harder back then. So we're going to see, because the guy with 25 1-1, not taking away for his defeats or anything like that, but 25 wins with only 10 knockouts. One would imagine, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought that he was just a light puncher and Tank only fighting this because, well, he can't really hurt him. So, yeah, hopefully Lamont Roach has other plans for everybody. Hopefully Lamont Roach shocks the world. I think boxing needs a huge shakeup. So I'm not saying I want to see Tank lose, but I think boxing needs something to really, really shake it up, especially right now when we're going through this transition period. Well, a lot of fighters that we've been talking about for years are starting to phase out. They're getting older now, and the young guys aren't quite at that point yet to where they have rivals, to where we're talking about guys, a group of fighters or a pair of fighters like we was talking about Spence and Crawford years ago. Like, we don't have that right now. Guys like Tank Davis don't really necessarily seem to want to associate his name with those guys. Not really too much going on in boxing. Lamont Roach, does he stand a chance against Gervonta Tank Davis? I'm not sure. What do you guys think? What if Lamont Roach beats Gervonta Tank Davis? Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.